And I'm excited to have with me today Jeff Long. I've worked with Jeff in the past and on some other shows. And Jeff, just welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me on here today. I'm excited to chat.
Absolutely. Really looking forward to it. I know this is going to be a wealth-centered conversation, and you've got some really interesting things that have happened in your career. Maybe get those lines out there that are listening started about a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, so I've been really blessed to grow up in a good Christian home. My grandpa was in ministry all his life, and so I have a heritage of the spiritual side of things. I mean, just blessed beyond measure. Mm-hmm. And so, but growing up, it was always hard because a lot of my friends felt like they knew what they wanted to do when they grew up, kind of using air quotes there.
Right.
But I never knew, and so my dad taught at a Bible college, and so I actually went there and got my degree to be a youth pastor and had the time of my life. I got to play sports, meet lifelong friends. I mean, it was amazing, but I didn't feel confident of what I wanted to do, right? All my friends, again, wanted to then be in church life because Bible college, most people want to be church leaders or missionaries or work in a Christian school. I just didn't know. Nothing felt like a good fit. And so that was a struggle. That was a really difficult time. I felt like this outcast. Like, how does everyone know what they want to do with their life? And here I am, like, did I miss the voicemail when God left it on my, voicemail box back in the day? That was a thing. And so that period of my life, I look back and, I can see how God connected some dots, but it was difficult. Mm-hmm. And then I graduated and I moved to Ohio, or back to Ohio because I was born there, but grew up in Iowa most of my life. And I worked at a church. And again, had the time of my life. I met amazing people, worked for great pastors, a small church. But I just didn't feel comfortable or like I was the right fit. Mm. And I don't know how you are, Chris, or the audience, but like I kind of felt this awkward, like, well, you can't tell God you don't want to work at a church like that, that even though I knew he's fine with it, right? God doesn't need me.
Right. Right.
He's fine without me.
Right.
But I just felt this kind of like inner awkwardness of like, well, all my friends are in ministry, my family and all that. How do I kind of say like, I want to do something different? Mm-hmm. Well, I think God has a way to kind of push us out of the nest, out of our comfort zone, and allow us to actually spread our wings. And it's scary. Oh my word. It was terrifying. Mm-hmm. And so I'll just kind of tell the story to wrap up. So the pastor I was working with, and I was doing an internship for a year. So it wasn't like this. I wasn't on staff. It wasn't even a paid position.
Okay.
Which made it even more interesting. So the pastor I was working with came to me kind of midway through the internship and said, Jeff, I'm candidating at some churches. I accepted a position and I'm moving out of state in like a month. And I was just kind of like, well, what? I mean, what about me? I moved across the country to work here with you, and I don't know what I'm doing in my life. And I was mad at God. Right. I was like, God, I did, what, the top tier Christians should do, right? You go to Bible college, you work at a church, like those are the best ones, right? And he's like, no, not necessarily, or not always. Or, I need everybody everywhere, not just in a building on Sundays or weekends or, and I know pastors do a lot more than on the weekends, of course. I have intimate knowledge of that. So anyway, that was God kind of kicking me out of the nest, which was fantastic.
That is. And sometimes we need that kick, and we need to be able to take that leap of faith. And I was at church the other day, leading a Bible study, working with the guys. And it's not called a baby step of faith. It's called it's called a leap for a reason. There's that moment where you just don't know the next steps, and I think that's the beauty of what God can do in our lives when we actually take Him out the box and let Him do His thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And obviously everybody's wired differently. Mm-hmm. Even though I seek safety and comfort and peace, I've learned that a lot of the times those stepping out in faith or doing something that is scary yields the biggest rewards, blessing, achievements, or confidence, or just kind of that inner pat on the back, Right. And so I think had I sat back and done what was easy, comfortable, safe, I wouldn't be where I am.
Right.
And on many levels, right? We're not just talking wealth. We're not just talking whatever. So, I in fact, now I actively look for opportunities where it feels scary and I lean into that.
Yeah.
So I kind of teach my kids whenever there's something scary at school, they have to do a speech or a presentation or a test or whatever. It's like,
Right.
I always tell them anything new is scary, even for adults.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times there's good things at the when you walk out of that time. Now, I get it. There are truly scary things in this world, sickness, health,
Right.
disaster. So we're not talking about that. It's more of
Right.
just pushing myself to broaden my horizons in different arenas.
You got that right. I mean, you have to. I mean, because you don't grow through the easy stuff. I mean, you grow
Right.
through the hard. I mean, the old Bible proverbs about the iron sharpens iron. You know,
Yeah.
that's hard stuff hitting hard stuff, and,
Yeah,
and
yeah, that's a
through
good
that
point.
process, we get better for sure. Now, I'm curious now for our listeners out there. So you walked down that path. You were doing the Bible college. You worked at the church. It didn't work out. So what'd you do next? Where'd you go?
Yeah. So, again, you look back and you see how the dots connect,
Right.
And obviously that's the Lord connecting those dots. So, soon after that, pastor talked to me about, he was leaving. Like I said, I was mad at God. And I probably said some choice words to him and kind of gave him the finger or who knows
Right.
what
Right.
I was angry. I was really angry. And I remember going to a bookstore and journaling, which I'm not a journaler. I should do it more, but I just never do it. And for the first time, I remember kind of dreaming and like, well, I've always liked videos and movies, and whenever I go to a movie, I'm looking at the lighting and listening to the soundtrack and looking at the angles. I'm paying attention to the story, but I'm looking at like just
Right.
the inner workings of it. So I'm like, maybe I could do video stuff and work with businesses, but back then, that was 20 years ago, 21 years ago. Video wasn't as accessible. We didn't have smartphones and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm journaling, I'm just kind of for the first time writing out. I don't even know where this is coming from. And that night I went to hang out with some friends who were just graduating from a Christian school. And one guy was like, yeah, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? Just kind of trading stories. And one of my friends was like, I don't really have a plan, but like, wouldn't it be cool if we could like do video stuff and work with businesses? And it was like he was literally reading the words out of my journal, And I
Right,
was
right.
like, wait, what? And so it's kind of like, okay, God, sorry about all those choice words I said, earlier that day, out of my anger. And we just went with it. So two friends and I started this video production company. We kind of had no business starting. Here's the guy, me, the Bible college grad, starting a business. I'd never done that before.
Right.
The other two guys had a lot more experience, both degrees and video stuff. But honestly, my excitement kind of quickly not that I outpaced them, but I got up to their level pretty
Right.
quickly. Just my excitement and it was almost like this faucet was turned on of excitement and learning and passion. And I mean, I remember staying up all hours of the night just writing out these like business ideas, and it was like, where did this come from? And so
Right.
anyway, that was kind of the start of the company. And yeah, so it's I'm in my 20th year right now, which is pretty cool, pretty crazy.
That is amazing. I mean, and
Yeah.
it's really cool what the Spirit will do when you lean in and you listen and
Yeah.
you start acting where He wants you to act.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, for sure.
I mean that's why the line within us is here. It's me listening and learning and sharpening some tools that I didn't never would have thought 3-4 years ago that
Yeah.
I could be able to do. But God, He uses all these different skill sets and He teaches you these things. And if you lean in and you listen, and like you said, you embrace the hard things.
Right.
And I think that for the lines out there listening, that's what get that from this story. Jeff, he had this path going down, this road, but God had this direction, right?
Yeah, I could have never written that story,
Right.
And out of it, I met my wife. We were on a missions trip to Namibia, Africa.
Okay.
We went to a big church, so we didn't know each other. I was doing some video work to kind of document and do some other things, and we met there. And even though it wasn't love at first sight, she actually called me the wrong name pretty much the whole trip. And we were both kind of going after different people, but God brought us together after several months, and so it's just interesting. But back to your point about you've changed in the last few years. I think that's the benefit of podcasts like yours, Chris. Is like we get to hear the stories of other people. We get to learn from other successes, mistakes, and just hear stories. And it, at least for me, the more information I know, the less fear that there is, right? If I can be like, oh, that person is doing X, Y, or Z, well, hey, if they could do it, maybe I could. I'm not the smartest guy, but I'm also not the dumbest. So,
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So important. So important. Well, I know, Jeff, we're going to talk about a little bit about real estate investing, and that's something that I'm very interested in learning from you on. As it's a really cool area to start evaluating, building wealth in a godly way. And so I tell you what, let's take a quick break, and then we can jump back in, and maybe you can give us that story on that side of your journey. Today is a great day to start your own podcast. Whether you're looking for a new marketing channel, have a message you want to share with the world, or just think it'd be cool to have your own talk show, podcasting is an easy, inexpensive, and fun way to expand your reach online. Buzzsprout is hands down the easiest and best way to launch, promote, and track your podcast. Your show can be online and listed in all the major podcast directories like Apple, Spotify, Google, and more within minutes of finishing your recording. Podcast isn't hard when you have the right partners, and the team at Buzzsprout is passionate about helping you succeed. Join over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout to get their messages out to the world. Let's create something great together. Visit thelionwithin.us/buzz to let Buzzsprout know we sent you, and you'll get a $20 Amazon gift card if you sign up for a paid plan. That's thelionwithin.us/buzz. All right, we're back, guys. So, Jeff, we were just talking about your journey to where you're at now, your Bible studying and through college, and that took you down another path. You're an entrepreneur in a wonderful career that's video marketing, helping us so many manufacturers out there. But you also do a lot of other things with real estate, and that's when you and I were talking. It really caught my ear because I don't really do that, and I'd love to learn more. And I'm sure there's a lot of Lions out there listening that would love to learn more as well.
Yeah. So again, talk about a story I could have never written for myself,
okay.
Right? Part of that is in school, elementary, junior high, high school, any school that I've taken, I used to hate math. I used to hate spreadsheets. And I use those words on purpose, used to. I still struggle with it, and I still don't love math, and I still don't love spreadsheets, but those help me with real estate. And so, and I always thought that investing, whether it's stocks or real estate or anything, was for like the smart rich people, and I definitely was neither of those, right? And so I kind of felt like I snuck into this club, and any minute they're going to find out and kick me out. So let me tell the story before they do that. So like I said before, my grandpa was in ministry all his life. He was a pastor for 20 years. Then he worked at a Christian camp in kind of northern Michigan for 20 years. Then he retired, again, using air quotes, and he started 2 missions organizations, nonprofits, for 20 years. So he kind of had these 20-year periods. And then he actually got cancer, and I think within 9 months or so, he passed away. And this is 2015 or so.
Okay.
And for many decades, he had some apartment buildings and different things that I knew about, but it was never really talked about, never really, and not that he was hiding it. It just wasn't a thing. We never talked about it. In the few times I went there, I kind of had a bad attitude or a judgmental, like, why would you, rent there? And, just really sinful, to be honest. Well, when he passed, he left a small inheritance, not huge, just, a little lump sum there. And it was like a spark. And it was like, okay, my grandpa left this spiritual inheritance. He was very well known in certain denominations and things. I mean, even to this day, it's pretty cool to see his spiritual spiritual legacy.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, if he could leave a spiritual legacy and as well as this little financial thing for me, I mean, imagine what I could do. Maybe I could have a similar thing. I don't know. I mean, God can use anybody, right? Why not me? And my wife and I had saved a little bit ourselves. And so we kind of had this little thing. And I felt this, again, spark of like, that money sitting in the bank earning hardly any interest is doing nobody any good. Like this is almost a crime that it's there. So that really got me interested in real estate. But again, let's go back. I hated math. I hated spreadsheets. Investing of any type is for the smart rich people. So that's 4 strikes against me. I'm no baseball player, but I think I'm out already.
Right.
So it took me a year or two to learn, to research podcasts, webinars, videos, courses, you name it, books, to even learn what are kind of simpler concepts. Some people latch on. So I bought, and I had a mentor that goes to my church. He has 100 plus, we call them doors, meaning units, and I needed a realtor. And once I had those two people to kind of help me out, I bought the first one. And it was really cheap. I mean, I'm in Dayton, Ohio. The first property was $18,900.
Oh,
And it was a fine property. I mean, you couldn't do that now.
right.
Times have changed. Actually, the person that owned it, I found out later, went to my church. So it was like, well, that's crazy. We put, 15, 20,000 into it just to bring it up a little bit, make it nicer. And once that was done, it was like, wow, that was actually easier than I thought.
Yeah.
And it rented for, I think, $875, $900 or whatever. And cash flowed kind of day one. And, once I got that first one, it was an addiction. I'll be honest. It was like, well, that was really hard, but my word, that was really fun.
Right.
And it allows me to, improve neighborhoods house by house.
Okay.
Yes, there's definitely a financial benefit, and that's the reason I got into it. So I don't want to sugarcoat this and make me, some spiritual giant that I'm not. But as a side benefit, some of the properties have single moms, and we get to just be good landlords, good owners, be good people, and sometimes they're not used to that. So it lets us, improve their lives and give them a clean, safe place that's their home, that they can feel comfortable in. So yeah, over the last 3.5 years have grown it, have 12 units or 15 doors as we call it. So single family homes and duplexes, and looking to scale.
That is awesome. I mean, that impact on others is so big, and talk about, building wealth the godly way and trying to help others along the way. This is a great way to do that. And I always, when I thought real estate investment and things like that, I was, for some reason, I just always went into my mind these 6 figures investments. And, maybe that's just where my lack of education is, but it doesn't sound like that's really the preferred path to get going.
Yeah. I mean, and obviously since I live in the Midwest in Ohio, it's kind of, in my backyard type of thing, which it's not in my neighborhood. It's not even in my little town. I have to go kind of in a, downtown Dayton type of thing. And there's pros and cons to some of those neighborhoods. But that's kind of typical in the Midwest, whether it's Indianapolis or, anywhere in the Midwest. It's low purchase price, good amount of rent. And so there's certain metrics. One of them, it's called the 1% rule. So your rent should be at least 1% of your purchase price. Oh, so that's kind of a, so if it purchase price of 100,000, it should rent for about 1,000. Right. Now, rules are made to be broken, so it could be a little less than 1%, 1.7, 1.8, whatever. It could be a lot more. I have some that are like 2%, so so it just depends.
And you mentioned, so really getting started, obviously you consume a lot of material, videos, courses, things like that, but you mentioned 2 people, and I don't want to just gloss over that, finding a good realtor and a mentor. Yeah. Why was that such a big impact? I mean, because I'm thinking right to myself, if I want to get going in this, I know the realtor I'll go to, but I'm not sure where to find the mentor. Like, how'd you go about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I was blessed in that he goes to my church, and a super generous guy. In fact, I said, hey, Mark, could I I'll buy you a steak dinner, like whatever you want. I don't care how much it costs. Like, I just want to pick your brain. I didn't want to be that guy that, takes him to McDonald's and, wastes his time. Like, I wanted to somehow say thank you. So he's like, you know what, have you and your wife meet me, and so I thought we were meeting at this restaurant. We meet there. He's like, just jump in my truck, and he drove us around for a couple hours, showing us properties, telling us stories, and again, at least for me, the more information I have, the lower the fear typically gets. You know, it's like, oh, okay, so I kind of saw Mark's strengths and weaknesses, and so that really was beneficial. Then I could ask questions, because as I was doing that first rehab, I did a fair amount of it because I wanted to learn just the process.
So the actual, like, just doing that reconstruction, the actual work
Yeah,
itself.
and
Okay.
it was, I call it like a lipstick rehab, right? It
Okay.
didn't need, we weren't adding bedrooms or
Right.
units or
The
whatever. It was a
bones and all
single.
that was good.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it was, and I had contractors doing the real work. I'm doing just painting and just little
Right.
stuff.
Right.
But it was in a neighborhood that was kind of rough, or places that we necessarily wouldn't live. It's improved since, and I had somebody that's influential in my life, very successful in the business side of things, pretty much say, "Jeff, why'd you buy there?" They pretty much said, "Jeff, you're an idiot," is the way I took it. They didn't say those words. And it was really, really difficult for many months as we're fixing it up. I'm like, am I? Right? The kind of the thoughts that I always had. I'm bad at math. I'm not, smart at spreadsheets and all that.
Right.
But once we fixed it up, got it rented, I showed him the numbers. He was like, "Oh man, that's awesome. I might want to invest with you." And so that was kind of a cool thing. And that brings me to the reason I've been able to scale is through relationships. So I don't want the listener to think, "Oh man, Jeff has tons of money pouring out of his pockets." Most of the properties I've purchased have been through kind of partnerships with other people. So let me kind of give you a scenario.
Yeah, please
This
do.
might open people's eyes. So
Okay.
I always look for win-win opportunities. So let's say I find a property, and let's say it's 50,000, 100,000. It doesn't matter. If a property, at least in my area, is under, I think it's 100,000, a bank typically wants it purchased in cash, and then they want it rented for a period of time, typically 6 months.
Okay.
Then they can put a loan on it in what's called a cash out refinance. So somebody has to come to the table with all this cash, which I don't have all this cash.
Right.
So I work with private lenders. So they lend me money to buy the property. I give them a 10% interest only loan, typically for a year. Sometimes it's a little flexible because we're in crazy times and you just can't guarantee. So I'll buy the property, I'll fix it up. When I say I mean my contractors. Now I have a team doing it, and then we rent it out. So it's a better property now because it's fixed up. There's a tenant in there, so it's stable. It's making money, so the bank is more confident in it as an asset.
Right.
And then I then I get a loan on it.
Okay.
And then I cash out my private lenders.
Oh.
And so sometimes we then rinse and repeat. We do another property, or another private lender does it. So does that make sense, or is that?
Yeah, it does. And I'm trying to think through, like, so and also you're having rent that's rolling in. I'm
Right.
assuming that's accumulating and that's going to down as like down payments on your next properties, or is those?
It can.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing. So there's a strategy called the BURR method, BRRRR. So you buy, you rehab, you rent, you refinance, you repeat. So BURR. So typically, if you're buying it kind of low, fixing it up, it's worth more. Plus, our market is very generous as we're recording, so there's some benefits there. So typically, you're getting a loan for a higher amount than what you bought it for, plus rehab and all that. So that's, and I've had some where I make money. Some I've broken even. There's been a couple where I leave, 5 or 10,000 in the property. So it's always kind of juggling all this stuff. But these private lenders, typically they have either money in the bank doing nothing, or they want to invest themselves, but they don't want to have to do the legwork, the finding the deal, working with contractors, all that stuff. It's work, right? Or maybe they have a 401k that they want to get better returns on. Anyway, there's a lot of different reasons they might want to kind of do a partnership with me. And it's not that they don't get the property. Now, if I default, they would get it, just because that's the arrangement. But it's a 10% interest only loan guaranteed by me, and the real estate that I have is a pretty beneficial thing to some people, not to everybody, but to the private lenders that I work with.
So it's a short-term investment for them, but you're more in the long-term game.
Correct. Yeah. I call these private lenders as more of like a bridge loan, right? So they're the bridge between me and the long-term loan.
Right.
Because again, I don't have the cash to keep buying, $50,000, $100,000 properties. I mean, that's a lot of money that, I don't have, whatever. So, and it's all about relationships. None of it's family. So it's not like I have a rich uncle that's,
Right.
dumping buckets of money into my account. It's just relationships of people in different mastermind groups or different people I've just kind of mentioned. Hey, if, here's what I'm doing. If you know of anybody, let me know. And
For
they're like,
sure.
well, I might want to do that, so it's kind of a fun opportunity.
I love it. I love it. I tell you what, Jeff, let's take a quick break, and I have some more questions on this because this is really good stuff for our lines that want to lean into this real estate investment as they grow in the future.
Sure.
We are proud to be sponsored by FMG Financial Hope. They provide financial coaching support, and Lions recognize that wealth is a core area that we all want to focus on. Their coaching process gives you a trained set of eyes that will be focused on 3 things. First, understanding your situation. Second, providing information that is specifically tailored to help you. And third, they inject hope. Good coaches teach the fundamentals of the game, but great coaches motivate. And winning with finances is possible for everyone, and FMG Financial Hope can get you there. So if you find yourself tired of running out of money before the month ends, never getting ahead with finances, or if you're just tired of living paycheck to paycheck, FMG Financial Hope can provide the support you need to start your path towards financial freedom. Visit thelionwithin.us/FMG to learn more. So we're back here with Jeff. And Jeff, one thing I was thinking about, you've really made this process work for you. What are some headwinds? What are some things you've learned along the way that, getting started, if this could be, it sounds like it could be a pretty daunting task in front of you if you're a young guy and you're not knowing the way to really lean in and get this going. Are there any headwinds that you just want to caution people about that they should be aware of?
For me, it was, I've surrounded myself with other investors, both that are way ahead of me or alongside of me or, coming up and just talking about it. I listen to a lot of different podcasts, both manufacturing, as you know, as well as marketing, but also there's some good podcasts like biggerpockets.com. It's kind of like the go-to website. They have a couple different podcasts like for rookies as well as more established.
Okay.
There's some great Facebook groups. And there's what I like about real estate is there's a lot of different ways to achieve this financial success, whatever you're aiming for. So, like you mentioned, most of mine are what we call long-term rentals. So we put a tenant in there, they rent it, hopefully for many years. Rents go up, they're paying down the mortgage, and it appreciates.
Right.
Plus the tax benefits. So there's kind of this four-part benefit to it. But there's, people buy apartment buildings or people do commercial spaces or something I'm looking into in the last couple of weeks or a month or two is short-term rentals. So think Airbnbs.
Okay.
Your net cash flow or your net profit can be several $1,000s a month.
Right.
I mean, how cool is that?
Sure.
You can buy a vacation property or a place by hospital or something and on the side make a couple $1,000s. I mean, how amazing is that? So
no kidding.
That's something that I'm looking at. And with the right systems in place, it's fairly easy and doable.
And I'm glad you said that word systems, because one thing, as coaching with, I've coached a lot of men and I sat down as recently as this week with a couple that are really struggling with debt. And, so it sounds like in this scenario, there are loans out there. So is there any fear on that? Like if tenants don't pay,
Sure.
any safeguards that you'd want to put in place before you jump into too many properties?
Yeah.
So just trying to get some guidance there.
So I would say, and I'm kind of using best practices without
Sure.
knowing, individual stories and
Yep.
all that. For me and my wife, personal debt is different than business debt.
Okay.
And we have a loan on our house where we live, but we've made some big chunk pay downs and kind of the goal is to pay it off before the 30-year mark. So I would say, if you have big debt, credit cards, definitely pay those down. Get that monkey off your back.
Right.
Be smart.
Right.
We didn't have that. Our cars are paid off, no student debt, no credit card stuff. So we had that freedom. But it's a ongoing discussion with my wife and I about how much real estate debt is too much or enough, when to pay down, what opportunity, so it's a discussion. We each have our own threshold for comfortability with
Sure.
that.
Right.
Because I'm self-employed, there's less of a safety net from a financial side. Nothing's guaranteed, right? I have a good small team on my marketing agency. I think we're doing awesome stuff, but at the same time, having that safety net of real estate and some other stuff is a beneficial thing. So yes, there's a lot of fear. I am more aggressive. I am more entrepreneurial. I think that with more properties, it reduces the risk, meaning if I have 2 or 3 tenants move out, yeah, it's not a good thing, but it's not going to destroy me. And we have whenever I run my numbers, I have buckets for what we call capital expenditures. So new roof, new furnace, kind of the big things that go bad, every 10, 20, whatever years in a house. I also have a bucket for maintenance, plumbing breaks or whatever, just to kind of fix things. And then we also save for other things. So, when all is said and done, there's still cash flow. That's very important.
Right.
So I think it's a fear tolerance or risk tolerance. I've people in my family that wouldn't touch this thing with a 10-foot pole. They think I'm the weirdest guy ever, and they're partly right. But I love it. God's wired me in such a way where that fear probably should be a little more at times. I'll be honest. Sometimes I need more of that healthy fear, but I kind of have a goal I'm working towards from a cash flow perspective with these rentals. And then we'll pay them down and, go from there.
Well, it's interesting because you're making the differentiation between the personal debt and the business debt. So I'm assuming there's like a LLC or something in place that you have to manage your properties.
Yeah. Right. And I don't manage all of mine. So out of the 12 properties or 15 doors, I actually still manage 5 or 6 of them because they're so easy. Like, it's crazy. So let me give you a couple examples, because people always say, well, Jeff, what about the toilet that breaks at 2 a.m. in the night or whatever? Okay, that can happen. Right. And I tell my tenants, if something bad happens, here's a list of plumbers or electricians or whatever to call in the night. So that's one way. And then during the day, if they have an issue, they text me. Everybody texts these days. I text a plumber, handyman, repair, whatever. They go out and they fix it. Done. 5 minutes later, it's off my back, off my shoulders. Right. So there's no, at least for me, there's no fear. And I've had some, I don't want to say horror stories, some bad things happen that I knew were going to happen, right? Anytime you're in business or doing something that there's a reward, something bad's going to happen. It's just when. So I knew that going in. So when bad stuff happens, it's like, all right, that stinks. We'll fix it. We'll get it taken care of. We'll make it right, whatever it is, and we'll go on our way. So
and it sounds like those relationships you have with those contractors are important too, because they're going to respond, and you've probably built some some trust over the years that working with the different ones. Yeah.
One guy, there was a amazing hot tub in the back of one of the properties when I bought it. I was like, I don't want the liability, all that. I just don't. Talked with my wife. She didn't want us to have it here, and we weren't sure if it even worked. So I told my main contractor, if you can haul it away, it's yours. And it's like a $6,000 hot tub, you know? And so I think he fixed it up and he's using it. And it's like, that's fine. I could have been like, I'll sell it to you it's like, you know what, just get rid of it, use it, enjoy it. Yeah. And we've got a great relationship. So, and then I have property managers to handle the other properties, and I'm kind of slowly giving them more and more responsibilities. And so, it can take as much or as little as you want, whether you do the management yourself or you offload it. But most of it's just kind of texting a specialist to take care of it. And then, they send you the bill and you take care of that and it's done. So
no doubt. But
the 6 that I manage, I might spend 30 minutes a month just doing little texts here and there, maybe. Okay. I probably spend more time on the financials, the bookkeeping, which I'm offloading to a bookkeeper as we speak. So anyway.
That's good. That's good. And when I think through now, like when you look online, like HGTV and all these shows now, they're all about flipping, and they're not really into the long-term strategy of hold and invest for that long-term game. And maybe that's tainted a lot of the way people think about, because they're looking for the quick dollar versus the steady, long dollar that's going to give you that annual income on like an annuity type basis on a regular, for years to come.
And and flipping is okay. I have some friends that do flipping full or part time, but flipping is a job,
Right.
right? And so,
Right.
yes, there's some financial benefit. When you flip it and sell it and profit 50 grand or 100, I mean, it's like, oh my word, that's crazy, right?
Right.
But then you have to do another one and another one.
Right.
So it's not passive. And not that mine is 100% passive, obviously. I'm still doing a little stuff here and there. I could probably do less. I just love it so much. I'm always looking at new properties or so it's kind of this fun thing. But yeah, I always tell people, if I can do it, a guy that had no financial background or savviness or wasn't good at math or spreadsheets or, all of that, if I could learn it, I think anybody can, because I'm still surprised at it's like, how did I do this? And obviously it was the Lord. It was 100% him, because
Oh, for sure.
I could have never written this story.
For sure. I mean, were there any, when you think back getting started, were there any courses or books? I'm just trying to think for some resources for the listeners out there that may want just to give them that taste of where they could go to start, doing some investigation.
So, biggerpockets.com.
Okay.
They have, I think, 2 million people on their forums. I mean, not all active or whatever, but they have free forums.
Okay.
They have free podcasts. I think they have courses. They have, I think, weekly webinars still. So their books, courses, podcasts, I mean, yeah, chew those up, and they have different podcasts and books and materials for short-term rentals or long-term rentals or commercial or, whatever kind of little sub niche you want to investigate.
Sure.
Go there. And then obviously podcast and YouTube, YouTube typically are shorter, video snippets or whatever, but just find people and, be careful what you pay for. There are a lot of gurus out there that have, expensive courses where you just don't get much value. So,
right.
I wouldn't spend money right off the bat, but I have spent money, and I think there's you invest in yourself as well as in your learning, by buying some of these materials. So,
right.
Don't be afraid to invest, but also don't think that that's your only option.
For sure. And I think too, just have some realistic expectations going into it. We're not, all these strategies are not the millionaire overnight.
Of course.
They take time. So I think too many times we get into we got to make the quick buck right now. We got to go. But I love this type of strategy because there is that residual that's growing. That's a legacy you can leave back, to your children, the impact you're making on other people's lives just by giving them, affordable housing that you're taking care of all these things. So there's so many great points to this. So just hats off to you for the success you had and for the information you're sharing here.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's been, like I said, it's been amazing. And I think, the work that you do, coaching people to even get them to a point where investing is possible is amazing, So that's, I think there is value in coaching and consulting because, like I said, I know I couldn't have done this without free and paid help.
Right. And that's the big thing for the coaching that I really do with so many people trying to, the health, wealth, and self. But that wealth piece, there's so much that we're just not taught. And, so far as debt, and, I meet with so many people who have 6 figures of student loan debt and, 5 figures of credit card and personal debt and cars that they can't afford, but they're still in them. So just trying to get those habits, because it's all, building wealth is just habits. It's good habits, and making sure you have, checks in places. I mean, just like your little 1% rule. It's a great little rule, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's things like that. The BURR process that you mentioned. So that's what I see. Just the opportunity to help some people out there get to that point. Because I've met with so many that were, well, I want to invest. Look, you're 6 figures in debt. You can invest like that. You got to get to that point so that when you do invest, you're ready, and then you'll be building that wealth the way God wants us to. So, Jeff, anything else? I mean, this has been phenomenal information that you're sharing today for out there for investing in real estate and things like that.
Yeah, I think the only thing that kind of pops up into my brain is, for the listener, and they can research this more, is a term called house hacking.
Okay.
So especially, like, I have a nephew who single, kind of younger guy, and it's like, hey, if you're already paying rent or buying a house, what if you either bought a house and rented it out to your friends? 3 or 4 of you guys live there, so you live there for free, so they're paying your rent. Or what if you bought a duplex, triplex, or fourplex? you live in a unit and then have a property manager manage the other units, find renters and all that. So again, they pay for your rent, for your property, for your mortgage. And, so they're paying the mortgage down as you're living for free, and you have this asset. So, to some people, house hacking is a amazing way to kind of live for free and have other people kind of buy your asset for you.
That is great. I'm coaching a gentleman in Florida right now through house hacking, and because right now he's the renter, and he's $600 a month, and that's one room, and I think the house has 3 other tenants.
Oh, nice.
And you do the math, it adds up pretty quickly. Yeah. He's like, Chris, I want to do that. I'm like, exactly. So I said, that's house hacking. So we need to find a property, and then tenants, and make sure, because you're there, you can manage it, you can oversee it. I said, but there's risk that comes with it. So we're trying to get him financially ready to do that. But that is a great tip that I hadn't even thought of till you just mentioned just now, that yes, that house hacking is a great way to get into the game.
Yeah. I had somebody say that they have a 4-3-2-1 strategy. So you buy a fourplex, then you rent it out. You live there, rent it out, then you move out after a year because that's the lending laws or whatever. Then you buy a triplex, and then that 2-1, is kind of your forever home, or your where you actually don't have roommates. So that's one strategy, is the 4-3-2-1.
It's good stuff. Good stuff. Well, Jeff, this has been phenomenal again. Thank you so much for what you share for the Lions out there. I know we're making them better. We're giving them ideas. Check out the show notes, the references that Jeff mentioned. We'll definitely have those there. And Jeff, thank you again, my friend. I hope you have a blessed day, buddy.
Thanks so much, Chris. I've enjoyed being on your show.
Today is a great day to start your own podcast. Whether you're looking for a new marketing channel, have a message you want to share with the world, or just think it'd be cool to have your own talk show, podcasting is an easy, inexpensive, and fun way to expand your reach online. Buzzsprout is hands down the easiest and best way to launch, promote, and track your podcast. Your show can be online and listed in all the major podcast directories like Apple, Spotify, Google, and more within minutes of finishing your recording. Podcast isn't hard when you have the right partners, and the team at Buzzsprout is passionate about helping you succeed. Join over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout to get their messages out to the world. Let's create something great together. Visit thelionwithin.us/buzz to let Buzzsprout know we sent you, and you'll get a $20 Amazon gift card if you sign up for a paid plan. That's thelionwithin.us/buzz. Now, that was a great conversation with Jeff Long. I tell you what, I did not know a lot about real estate investing. Still have a lot to learn, but he dropped a ton of nuggets out there for us, guys. So, if you're interested in that, go about it the godly way, right? I mean, make sure that you're trying to build wealth the way God wants you to. And that's some really good tips he went through. Check out the show notes. They're there. And that's what they're there for. They're there to give you those resources that you need to take this to the next level. Now, if you're liking The Lion Within Us, share it with others. You really need to. Don't put this in your pocket. This needs to be something that you get out, that you embrace, that you endorse, that you say, hey, you know what, brother? This has been really helpful for me in my Christian walk, and I think you would enjoy it. So share it. Give that 5-star rating. Write a review. That really helps. And it can just be one sentence, but it's a big deal. And remember, you can go to thelionwithin.us to find all the information about the show, the resources we're building, the coaching information that we put together that really focuses on health, wealth, and self, and the Bible study and some materials we're putting together there. So there's a ton of information we're building and resources that we're trying to get out there for you guys, because we know, Satan is attacking. He's attacking every day. You need some resources. You need some encouragement, and we're trying to do that for you each and every day. So thank you again for watching The Lion Within Us. And remember, today is the day that you can unleash the lion within.